Hey everyone, so in this video I want to show you how you can check the direction that objects that are colliding are facing, and that we can decide based on the direction they're facing what should happen. So in this case I'm making a tower defense and I want the tower that can do knockbacks to only be able to knock back an enemy if they're facing the enemy. So I don't want them to knock them off the side of the path, they can only knock them back along the path that they came from. So let's take a look to see how that works as far as the final product, and then we'll go through the code, and it's only about 2 lines of code, maybe 3. So we're going to put that unit here, and watch, they will knock him back. See, knocks him back, knocks him back. This one will also knock him back. This will not. Nor will this. Because I don't want people to just be spamming these everywhere, so the knockback only works if you're hitting them from the front. Now, I'm going to put one here, and basically this would penalize the player in an additional way, that if you put them behind, they get knocked forward, which actually gives them like a slight speed boost. I'm not that mean, but I'll show you how to do that too. Okay, so how does this work? So we're using Euler angles. So basically, we're checking the y value for the Euler angles. So if you're facing that way, so basically positive on z, that's 0 degrees. If you're facing this way, positive on x, that's 90. Facing negative on z, that's 180. Negative on x, 270. In other words, as you'd expect, they're 90 degrees. So 0, 90, 180, 270, back to 0. So really all you're doing is you're grabbing the y value of the Euler angle for the tower, and you're comparing it to the y value of the Euler angle for the enemy unit that's approaching. Now, they are not facing in the same direction. You want them to be in opposing directions. Well, how do you check for opposing directions? 180 degrees, which makes sense. If you've turned around, that's 180 degrees. If you turn to your left or right, that's only a difference of 90 degrees. It's only an increment of 90. So as long as it's 180, it should be opposing directions. So for instance, when I put the unit here, it's facing down, so that's 180. And the enemy is moving up, so it's facing forward, facing along the z-axis, that would be 0. So the difference is 0 and 180. And the other one that worked is right here, and that would be 270 for the tower facing to the left would be 270, and the enemy is moving at 90. So again, 180 degrees. And the last one that I mentioned is that if you want to penalize the player, and that if they put a unit here, if they put the knockback unit here, and the enemy's here, and they hit, then it would actually push them forward. So even though it's a knockback, because it's pushing them away from the tower, it actually pushed them forward and actually give them a speed boost. Because again, this is meant to be a strategy game. You don't want people just spamming whatever units randomly, that there's consequences. So in that case, they both would be facing in the same direction, because the unit is facing 90, okay, the enemy unit, and the tower is facing 90. And so you would, as you're about to see, you would do a check for that combination. Okay, so this is the script that is attached to the enemy. Do not worry about all the other code. None of it matters. All we're looking at is the check. I know I don't like to do this. I normally like to start from scratch, but this was kind of an impromptu video. So this script is attached to the enemy. Here is the check for a collision. This is referencing the object that is being collided with, in this case, the tower. So the script is attached to the enemy and is checking for a collision with the tower. If it hits a tower that has the knockback tag, and we'll just quickly show you that. So it was this unit. As you can see, they have the knockback tag. So if other.tag contains knockback, we want to do a few things. So this is a variable I declared at the beginning, and it's just a float. Okay. So this is going to be set to other. So again, that's the object that we're colliding with, the tower. So if the towers transform your angle, it's setting this equal to that. It's setting this equal to the towers transform Euler y value. That's why I called it y angle. Okay, so we've now grabbed that value of the tower for the y Euler angle. Don't worry about the debug. This was just me checking the values. I should have been able to figure it out on my own, but I was drawing a blank, so I used debug to make sure I was doing it right. We're now going to we're now going to compare that to transform.Euler_angle.y plus 180. So notice the pattern is the same thing. I'm drilling down to transform, I'm drilling down to Euler angle, I'm drilling down to y, but like I said, they need to be opposing. So we're taking the y value of the object, because when there's nothing before this, see how it just says transform? Well, that's the transform component of the object the script is attached to. Again, it's attached to the enemy. So if the Euler angle, specifically the y value, plus 180 is equal to the tower's y angle, because again, they need to be opposing. So for them to be opposing, you need 180 degrees difference. So if the y angle, the y value of the Euler angle of the enemy plus 180 is equal to that similar value of the tower, then do the knockback routine. And again, don't worry about the knockback routine. That's not what we're here for. We're just here to do this check. So this will allow you to check the direction units are facing when they're colliding. And as far as the little extra, I said that if you wanted to be able to knock the enemy forward, then what you would do is you would check, you wouldn't do this, the plus 180. You would just see if they're facing in the same direction. So even though the enemy would be facing along the right, to the right direction, the tower would also be facing in the right direction. So they're not looking at each other, but they're facing in the same direction. That's what you're checking for. And so if they were equal, you'd have this happen. So this only happens when it's 180 degrees difference, which means they're facing in opposite directions, and then this will work. If the, let's just go back to here. So like if the tower is here, so it's facing down, which is 180, but this is the enemy would be facing this way, which is 90. So if I add 180 to 90, it would be 270, not 180. And so it would not be, those two values would not be equal with the addition of the 180 degrees, and therefore they're not in opposing directions. So hopefully that makes sense. I just wanted to put that there because, like I said, this is something I've struggled with time to time, and you just have to remember that almost any attribute of a unit you can drill down to, put it into a variable, and then compare it to the same attribute of another object. So I hope you found this interesting. I hope this was helpful, and please do enjoy the rest of your day.